Welcome into the center spot here on the Tottenham Depot YouTube page. Yes, that is what we are going with for this midweek check-in on Tottenham Hotspur. My name is Andrew. You can follow me at Astedka. You can follow us at Tottenham Depot. I've got Dakota alongside. He is once again doing this by candlelight. He is also at Dakota J Booth. Dak, what's up, my man? How are you doing?
Yeah, it's a beautiful evening here in the PNW. I'd like everyone to know the candlelight is a choice, not not forced to do this. I just enjoy it, and I would recommend it. Give it a try. Nighttime, light some candles, hop on a podcast with one of your best friends, and just talk about a wonderful game back in Europe from our beloved Tottenham Hotspur Football Club.
A wonderful, I don't know if wonderful is how it started out. Of course, Spurs do
Oh yeah,
defeat Qarabag FK 3-0 at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium to open up their Europa League season earlier today on Thursday as we record this. But it did not start out so hot, my friend. About 8 minutes in, Radu Dragishin sent off for the denial of a goal scoring opportunity, immediate red card. And boy, was I panicking in the moment. I want to know how you were feeling because to me, my immediate thought goes to Cody Romero suspended for this match. Jed Spence isn't in the squad. How the hell is Ange Postecoglou going to pull this off in maneuvering all these pieces, especially when, and we're going to talk about this because this is the main point of this, but there's a trip to Old Trafford here in a few days that this team has to be prepared for. And now you've got to get through 80 plus minutes on a European night with only 10 men. What were you thinking in that moment when you saw Radu Dragishin get shown the red card?
yeah. Firstly, I want to commend you for even saying his name because you refused to in the chat earlier today. So growth from you and in the
Yeah,
same day.
I was, you know
Uh,
what? I was really, really angry earlier. I did not even want to refer to the man's name, but I'm trying to be somewhat, I guess, we're never really professional, but somewhat professional here in discussing what the hell happened. But goodness, yes,
yeah,
I was fired up earlier.
but you asked about my thoughts, so I'll give them to you. I didn't really panic because we had Ben Davis on playing left back, and I was like, he's just going to slot in. We'll send one of the midfielders out there to kind of cover the left side up and down as they do, and it'll be fine. That's Ange felt differently, which is absolutely gutting for Lucas Bergvall. We saw his emotion on the bench. I think it's every bit warranted. This game is probably the one that maybe Ange told him to circle at the beginning of the season. Like, this is your shot. This is where we're going to get to slot you in. You're going to get to have a full 90. You're going to be able to show yourself here. And he's substituted off, less than 10 minutes in, right at 10 minutes in. So absolutely devastated for him. But hopefully he sees this as motivation to go out and make the most of the minutes that towards the end of these Premier League games and Carabao Cup games. And the good thing for him, if there is a silver lining that he can find, is there's going to be lots of opportunities to play because we have so many games. But I didn't panic. I don't know that I would have made the change directly after, like Ange did, but as soon as he made the change, Brandon Johnson slots in a goal, and we're kind of off to the races there. So I guess that's why he gets paid the big bucks, and I'm sitting here talking about this on the internet.
Yeah, but to be fair, Ange Postecoglou probably is sitting by candlelight this evening, also, pondering his thoughts. So
So
there's some similarities there as well. As we do kind of transition, and obviously, look, for those of you who are watching here on the YouTube page, we're going to talk more about this game on the podcast come Sunday, but we want to kind of look ahead in this moment to the Manchester United match. And I'm curious as to what you think about how Ange modifies any of his plans, if at all, based on what happened in this match today. And obviously, we're going to come on to talking about Stunny as well, who it appears came off with a little bit of soreness or maybe some fatigue. But before even talking about that aspect of it, as we look ahead to a trip to Old Trafford, I'm curious, would you start Radu Dragic this weekend just to give Mickey Van de Ven a blow? Because that's a guy who's played a lot of minutes now, and you're expecting him to turn around and go another full night. Obviously, Romero will be back. He's not suspended anymore. He was suspended for the European match, but he'll be back in the defense for the match. But I don't know, man. Like I'm a little nervous already about the fixture congestion alone. And with the lack of true center backs on this team, would you even think about trotting Radu Dragic right back out there, or are you sticking with the normal center back pairing this weekend?
Yeah, I think it's tempting, but with the way that we can kind of predict the Manchester United will play, because it's Eric Ten Hag and he's going to sit deep. They're going to try to play the counterattack. I think Mickey Van de Ven is the player that you have to have on the pitch this weekend. So I don't really know exactly what that means going forward. I would rest Mickey when we travel to Hungary. I would maybe even like tell him like you're not playing. Don't.
Although that now becomes really tough because Radu Dragic obviously is going to be serving a suspension.
Yeah.
So are you playing?
Ben Davis
Yeah,
and
Ben
Cody
Davis.
Romero.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this we've talked about Jed Spence not being in the squad, not really making a whole lot of sense, and it almost makes even less sense now.
Because the other option there, and for the listeners slash viewers, like the option there would be to play Jed Spence at right back and slide Archie Gray back into the center back position, in my mind, because Archie Gray is, as we saw in preseason and as we know, is capable of moving around the pitch a little bit. So
Yeah.
yes, that's kind of what I was talking about earlier with the exclusion of Jed Spence. This all these puzzle pieces do become a little bit more tough to piece together as he
Yeah.
looks to these midweek matches and then turning around quickly on the weekend.
Yeah, and because of that, maybe we'll get to see Archie Gray play right back in the first Europa League match and left back in the second Europa League match, because Destiny Doggy does need to rest. He had surgery, everyone. He might not be 100% fit. So that is going to be quite interesting to watch Ange Postecoglou, like you said, move those puzzle pieces around and figure out where they fit. But for this weekend, I think you've got to trot Mickey Van de Ven out there with Cody Romero next to him. I think we're gonna get an Yves Bissouma, Dan Kulusevski, James Madison midfield, which I think is gonna be a lot better at picking those locks from those teams that want to sit deeply, because um, I think we've got those are maybe our three best passers in the midfield, of the ones who are regularly starting. So I think that's the midfield that pops out. The rest of the team kind of picks itself. Hopefully, Sonny's fit and able to go. That guy really needs a rest. If it's not this weekend, it's got to be when we travel to Hungary.
Yeah, I mean, you've now said that guy needs a rest a couple of different times, and therein lies
Yeah,
the issue. I mean, you brought up Yves Bissouma. I would not be surprised if Rodrigo Bentancur starts there, just because Bissouma started on the Thursday and Bentancur came in to spell him. Maybe those roles flip for the Sunday match, but we will see. On Sonny, I mean, how is he replaced if he needs to be replaced? If he cannot start at Manchester United on Sunday, is it as simple as slotting Timo Werner into that spot and hoping for the best? Do you play Dejan Kulusevski wide on the right and move Brennan Johnson to the left? I mean, I know there are not great options, but with the injury to Wilson Odobert and, Richarlison still being out, I just, all of a sudden, this team with all of these matches looks a little thin if Sonny is out. And like you said, Sonny seems to need a rest as well. Like all these guys kind of need a rest already. And it's checks notes, not even October yet, but
yeah.
this is kind of where we are at this point.
Yeah, I'm gonna do Scott a solid because he's not here, and also remind you that Mikey Moore is available to play.
He is, that's true. And credit to him, came on, made his European debut against Qarabag. So like that is a thing. I don't think you're starting Mikey Moore at Old Trafford. I don't know that that's happening.
I wouldn't. Scott would. I would not. My most preferred move is to send Dan Kulisevsky to the wing and move Brennan Johnson over to the left hand side and start any of the other midfielders. Perhaps even a Basuma, Bentancur, Madison midfield could be interesting in the wide range of very good to very bad that could go, because I think the scale is that wide with that type of midfield. So yeah, the lineups are going to be getting interesting and tougher to predict, like you said, before we even flip the calendar over to October. But I'm really hoping that the comeback against Coventry City is something that has sparked this team forward, and it is something that they have in the back of their mind. And I think losing a man early today and then still being able to more or less cruise to a 3-0 victory is a sign of a really good team, a team that believes in themselves, and a team that is not going to be intimidated walking into the historic venue that Old Trafford is, and being able to believe that we can walk in here, we can leave with all 3 points, because that's what we do.
And to your point, Spurs should have really no trepidation about going to Old Trafford. They drew 2-2 away there last season. And, there were 2 prior losses before that at Old Trafford. But you go back to that 2020 match, and I know there's not a lot of the same players that were on that team, but that was a 6-1 during that kind of post-pandemic matchup there.
Yeah.
Spurs
I
are
was just going to say that's one of my favorite Spurs games from recent memory, watching that, because it just seemed like every time we shot, the ball was going in the back. And then it's like Steph Curry, in the zone. The hoop is as big as the ocean, and he's throwing it up and it goes in. That was a fun game to watch and be part of. So a repeat of that would be nice.
Spurs are unbeaten in 3 straight against United overall, 1 win, 2 draws from those. And United, frankly, I don't know really what to make of them right now as we kind of shift this conversation to talking about them specifically. Dakota, when I Googled Manchester United today, the only stories I could really find were about Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and how he would be open to returning as their manager. Reminder, he's not their manager anymore. It's Erik ten Hag. But all the stories were about how when and if Erik ten Hag gets the sack, Solskjaer would be open to a return. United seem a mess. They, ironically enough, have the same number of points as we do: 2 wins, 1 draw, 2 defeats from their first 5 in the league. Just like Spurs, they have a 4-goal worse differential. They've scored 5 and allowed 5, while we have scored 9 and allowed 5. So a little bit of a difference there. They do have a few injuries of note as well. Lenny Euro and Luke Shaw is not going to be ready for this match either, who's kind of always been their first choice left back, it feels like, for the last however many years. So a lot going on with them, but they're still
and
United.
And a retirement. Rafael Varane retired yesterday, I think.
Right. So there's, like I said, a lot going on with them. They are also, by the way, in the Europa League. They did not play Thursday. They played Wednesday, but they drew 1-1 at home to FC Twente. That was a match. I watched the highlights of this that looked very, very even. And our old friend Christian Eriksen was actually involved in both goals. He scored their opener in the first half and then gave the ball away extremely badly in the second half as they gave up an equalizer. But I don't really know what to make of this team. They have questions with Bruno Fernandes. They have questions with Marcus Rashford, who did not even start last week against Crystal Palace in a goalless draw at Selhurst Park. I don't really know what's going on with them. Do you have any answers for me?
I'm not sure that a Manchester United fan would have answers for you because looking at the starting lineup from their Europa League match this week, it seemed like they put out maybe their strongest 11, and like you said, walked away with a draw from a goal late in the game. So I'm not exactly sure what their expectations are for this weekend. Um, maybe if you offer them a draw right now, perhaps they would take it. So, but I know that that's not our mentality, and that's not the way that we are going to operate. So, I'm not sure what to think of them, but I know that they're probably going to play a defensive game because they probably feel kind of backed into a corner in some sense from all of the things that are going around at their club right now, and it all feels a bit negative. So that's going to translate to the way that they play on pitch too.
Well, let me ask you in regards to that, because we saw Spurs with Brentford last week. I think a big reason that they had so much success against Brentford is because Brentford are a team that want to come out and play football against you, and Spurs were able to press the hell out of them and quickly turn the ball around and create really good chances. But on the flip side, we've seen when teams don't want to come out and play, that's where Spurs tend to struggle. I mean, the matches that Spurs have looked the best are when possession is right around 50% for both teams. But when Spurs dominate possession and teams sit in, like you're talking about Manchester United potentially wanting to do, that's when Spurs seem to struggle to create and finish goals. Is that a worry at all for Spurs as they head up north on this weekend?
It could be, but I was really encouraged from our last Premier League match because we had more shots in that game than in any other game this season. So um, that's kind of been my main sticking point watching this club from the first few weeks of the season is I just want them to shoot the ball more. It doesn't matter if it's from 24, 25, 30 yards out. Like just put something on goal and let's get the ball moving. Because that is something that a shot does, especially if it ends up being one that's on goal, is it restarts a phase of play where we can press, we can get high and make the defenders uncomfortable with the ball at their feet. So I hope that that was an instruction and not something that was just happening. We'll find out this weekend, I think, but that's what I would like to see more of is just taking the half chances and seeing what happens because every goaltender goalkeeper on the face of the planet is subject to mistakes. They're gonna happen, and if you put the ball on frame enough, maybe you'll get lucky and it'll happen in your game. But you can't know unless you put the ball into the mixer. So I want to see shots. I want to see high intensity. I want to give ourselves opportunities to play that high press like we do so well. And shots are a great way to make sure that that happens.
Shots for everybody. I'm totally on board. Dakota, at the same time that Spurs will be taking on Manchester United at Old Trafford on Sunday, Spurs women will also be away from home. They will be traveling to Villa Park to take on Aston Villa. Unfortunate that these matches are at the same time, obviously, but we here at the Tottenham Depot, we have multiple people and everyone has multiple eyes, and we will have eyes on all of it and be podcasting afterward. But I'm curious as to your reaction of the start for Spurs women last week, a 4-0 victory over Crystal Palace, a really good start to the season. Robert Villahan met with the media this week and had a lot of praise for Villa, who played a really good match despite a 1-0 defeat to the defending champions Chelsea last week in their opening match. Robert Villaham also kind of indicated that he would expect Ella Morris to be fit for this match. So perhaps a few tweaks and changes coming into this one, but I'll be curious to see. I mean, this is a team in Villa that Spurs finished 1 point above last year, and it kind of came down to the wire for that placement on the WSL table. What have you liked from Spurs Women this year, and what are your expectations as they head into what's kind of a I don't want to call it a big match because it's only the second match of the season, but it feels like one of those prove it matches against a team that is on a similar level to Spurs, right?
Yeah, it's exactly what I was going to say. A great opening match, 4-0 win over newly promoted Palace. That's we're in the midst of college football season, and you and I are big college football fans. Half of our audience may have no idea what we're about to talk about, but that's fine. It's Crystal Palace was your FCS warm up game, before you get into league play, conference play. And I think Villa's the perfect team to come out and start that, really start the season with. It's a really good measuring stick game, is what I've been thinking of it as, because, like you said, two teams, similar kind of path, similar trajectory. Let's see where we're actually at. All of these pieces that we added, all these really exciting players, really good players. I'll steal a word from Robert Wilhelm. All these players who are upgrades, that we signed in the window. Let's see if they actually improved our team as much as we think that they have. And I'm excited. I'm excited to see. We've been creating a lot of chances. You know, what do we call Bobby Ball is in full swing. So let's keep the ball rolling. And it's such an exciting time to be a fan of Spurs across the board right now. We're playing exciting brands of football. We're winning some games. We're making deep cup runs. We played an FA Cup final last season, and that is nothing to shake our heads at. So more of the same. Let's build on that success. Another 4-0 win. Why not?
Yeah, I'd be totally on board. And also really cool that Aston Villa are playing all of their WSL games this year at Villa Park, something that I know that has been a hot button issue within the WSL and with Spurs fans as well, wanting, more matches at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. They're going to be playing 3 of them this year. But we'll see kind of as that. I know there was a discussion, couple questions to Villaham in the press conference this week, and a discussion about it at the fan forum earlier this week. And we're going to dive into some of that discussion on the podcast this week, as well as recapping both of these matches after they happen, and lots more as well. So be sure to tune in. The Tottenham Depot will drop on Sunday following these matches. We will be sure to get it out to you all. And Dakota can be followed at Dakota J Booth. You can follow me at A Stetka. We will wrap it there, and we'll talk to you on Sunday here at the Tottenham Depot. As always, come on, you Spurs.
Guys.